You ever notice how people treat love notes like they're writing the next great American novel? Every time someone picks up a pen to express their feelings, suddenly they think they're Hemingway with a rose between his teeth. Nobody just writes, "Hey, I like you." No, that would be too easy. Too human. Instead, they have to make it sound like an opera, like a tragic drama being performed in front of God, the moon, and the janitor cleaning the stage. You ask a person to write a love note, and suddenly they forget the difference between "I miss you" and "my soul aches in the hollow cavern of eternity without your presence." Really? Your soul aches. Buddy, your soul didn't ache when you skipped rent last month. Your soul didn't ache when you ate a cold burrito at midnight and watched cartoons in your underwear, but now suddenly the soul is a Shakespearean character in Act 3. And the best part is they think it's sincere. That's what kills me. They think they're pouring their hearts out. They think they're speaking a deep truth, but it all sounds like it was copied out of a bad soap opera script. Love notes are basically the days of our lives of stationery. You don't even have to change the music. All you need is that dramatic organ in the background. Dun, 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 and the words practically rid themselves. Without you, my darling, the stars lose their sparkle. Well, isn't that poetic? Without you, the stars lose their sparkle, really? The stars are 93 million miles away and powered by nuclear fusion, but apparently Brenda's presence in your life is the difference between twinkle, twinkle, and lights out. And they keep repeating clichés like it's the only language they know. Or forever and always, out of the moon and back. Am I one and only? These phrases don't even mean anything anymore. Forever and always? That's just redundant. Forever is always. That's like saying a wet and moist. Pick one, sweetheart, and it to the moon and back. That's 477,000 miles round trip. That's your big statement. That's your devotion. Look, astronauts have done that. 3 days in a capsule eating freeze-dried peas and scratching themselves in zero gravity. They've done that. You're telling me your love is equal to an Apollo mission? That's not romance. That's math. But oh, they really think it's powerful. They'll write, "You are my everything." My everything, which is funny, because 2 weeks later they'll say the exact same thing to the next person. "You're my everything." What happened to the last everything? Did it expire? Did the warranty run out? Did you have to trade it in like a used car? It's amazing how many everythings people go through in a lifetime. I know people who've had 5 as soulmates before they hit 30. 5. What's the math on that? Either there's a bulk discount on souls or somebody's lying. And the tone of these notes, it's always so inflated, so theatrical. Nobody writes the way they speak. Nobody ever sits down and says, "Hey babe, I like being around you. You smell nice, and when you laugh, it doesn't make me want to kill myself." Let's stick with that. That would be honest. But no, they have to go into a complete me. You are the air I breathe, the light of my morning, the song of my heart. The song of your heart? What is this, a Disney musical? People don't even write their grocery lists with this much drama. You never see eggs, milk, bread, and the eternal flame of my devotion to margarine. The funniest thing is when they try to add some deep metaphor. People think love has to be explained in nature terms. You're like the sun. You're like the moon, or you're like the ocean. Well, which one is it? Because those things are very different. The sun will burn you alive. The moon is a cold rock in space that does nothing but control the tides and confuse werewolves. The ocean drowns people. These aren't compliments. These are disasters waiting to happen. If someone told me, "You're like the ocean," I'd say, "Thanks, does that mean I'm full of garbage, salt, and dead fish?" And they always compare love to food, too. "You're the peanut butter to my jelly. You're the icing on my cake. You're the cheese to my macaroni." Well, that's romantic. Nothing says timeless devotion like a processed dairy product. What happens if the person's lactose intolerant? We're the cheese to my macaroni. Right now you're giving them cramps. And a peanut butter to my jelly? That's just sticky, messy, and guaranteed to rip the roof of your mouth off. Maybe love really is peanut butter. Hard to swallow, sticks to your teeth, and eventually gives you a stomachache. And let's not forget the handwriting, because love notes are never typed. No, typing is too cold, too modern. People wanted the personal touch, so they take out a pen. Problem is, most people write like drunken spiders with arthritis. You get this scrawled mess of looping letters and ink smudges, and you're supposed to read it as poetry. It looks like a ransom note written by a third grader. Oh, my darling angel, I love you. Darling angel. You can't even write the word I love you without it looking like a lie. Suddenly, my lord angel, I lave you. That's not a romance. That's a cholesterol problem. And here's the kicker. People keep these notes. They hold on to them for years, tucked in shoeboxes, folded up in wallets, pressed in books. Like they're sacred relics. Like one day a historian is going to uncover them and say, "Ah yes, the great romance of Tiffany and Brad, circa 1989. But if you ever read them later, they're hilarious. You can't believe you ever took them seriously. At the time, it felt like gospel. 10 years later, it reads like a parody. Oh, my sweet darling, you're the only one for me. Yeah? Tell that to your third divorce lawyer. And the soap opera thing, it's really uncanny. Because love notes always have these dramatic stakes. It's never casual. It's never just, hey, I like spending time with you. It's always, without you, I am nothing. My life has no meaning. I am adrift in a sea of despair without your touch. Jesus Christ, settle down, Romeo. You've been dating 3 weeks. 3 weeks without her touch, your life has no meaning? You didn't even know her birthday until last Tuesday. If that's what despair looks like, I'd hate to see what happens when you run out of hot water in the shower. And, of course, the endings. The way people sign off love notes. That's a whole art form. You never just see us sincerely, Mark. Oh no, it's gotta be theatrical. Forever yours. Eternally devoted. Yours until the end of time. The end of time. You're promising a lot there, buddy. The end of time is a pretty big deadline. The universe is going to collapse on itself someday, and apparently you're still going to be hanging around holding hands with Diane. That's a lot of pressure. People can't even commit to a 2-year gym membership without breaking it. No. But here they are, committing to cosmic eternity with a ballpoint pen. And it's funny because all these people think they're unique. They think their note is special. But you can line up 1,000 of them and they all say the same thing. Every last one. I can't live without you. You're the one for me. You make me whole. Blah, blah, blah. It's the same script over and over again. We've been recycling this dialogue since cavemen scratched hearts into cave walls. You know what a caveman probably wrote. You, me, right. And honestly, that was probably more honest than half the crap we write today. And the irony of it all, these people spend all this time writing these dramatic, soulful declarations. And then they get dumped by text message 6 weeks later. 6 weeks, that's how long forever lasts. You pour out your eternal devotion on line notebook paper and the reply you get is, "It's not you, it's me. Lala." That's love notes for you. World literature in the front, soap opera in the back. Because the truth is, love notes don't deserve to be in libraries or museums. They deserve comedy awards. Plain and simple. You ever notice how when people sit down to write a love note, they forget every single rule of grammar they ever learned? It's like passion has this magical power to wipe out spelling, punctuation, and even basic logic. Suddenly, the same person who can barely pass a high school English test is Shakespeare with a thesaurus, except Shakespeare spelled everything wrong, didn't use commas, and apparently fell asleep halfway through the sentence. Nothing screams romance quite like a love note full of spelling mistakes. You're my sunshine. Really? You're my sunshine? That's not even romantic. That's just illiterate. You know what that says? That says you never listened in 5th grade, but now you want someone to believe you're the poet of the century. And people excuse it. They always excuse it. They'll say, "Oh, but it's from the heart." Yeah, well, so is acid reflux, but you don't frame that and call it art. Being from the heart doesn't mean it shouldn't pass a spell check. People act like spelling errors make it more genuine. Like if you know how to spell correctly, you're somehow less romantic. He spelled everything right, so clearly he doesn't love me. What kind of logic is that? Since when does devotion depend on your ability to butcher the English language? I lava you. No, you don't, you lava lamb. You love me, at least I hope you do. Otherwise, I'm dating a volcano. The funniest part is how consistent the mistakes are. Every love note has the same misspellings, always the classics. Your instead of your, there instead of there, two instead of two. It's like Cupid hands out free grammar mistakes with every arrow. Here, yeah, you're gonna fall in love, but the price is you'll never know where the apostrophe goes. That's why every love note looks like it was graded by a drunk teacher. Red circles everywhere. My love for you will never die except when you leave me. Except? You mean accept. Or maybe you do mean accept. Hard to tell when the grammar's crying for help. And then there are the run-on sentences. Love notes are full of them. People forget punctuation exists. They're so in the moment. They just keep writing until the paper runs out. We love you and you are the most wonderful person I have ever met. And my heart beats for you and I cannot imagine life without you and you are my everything. And I will never stop loving you and we will be together forever and always. Period. Where is the period? People write like they're running a marathon with words. By the time you reach the end of the sentence, you're lightheaded, dehydrated, begging for oxygen. If passion really does make your heart race, it's because you're trying to read that sentence out loud without passing out. And don't get me started on capital letters. Oh, they love capital letters. Every word is capitalized. You are my one true love forever. It looks like a bad movie poster. Or worse, they put the capitals in random places like, you are my one true love forever. What happened there? Did love get promoted? Did the word suddenly get knighted by the queen? Why does love get a capital L? But you don't capitalize my? What are you trying to tell me here? Is this grammar code and when they don't capitalize, they go the other way, all caps? Oh, that's my favorite. Because when you read it, it sounds like they're screaming at you. Oh, I love you so much. Jesus, calm down. We're not at a football game. Nothing says romance like someone yelling devotion at you through text. All caps in a love note makes it look less like affection and more like a restraining order waiting to happen. Then there's the creative spelling. Oh boy. I love you. I miss you. Hail my angel. Love you. What is this, a romance or a license plate? You're supposed to be expressing eternal devotion, not registering a Honda Civic. People act like shaving letters off makes it cuter. I love you. No, that's not cute. That's lazy. You had one job. Spell the word love. It's 4 letters. 4. It's not like you're carving it into stone tablets. You've got a pen and a paper. Put the damn O in. And then there are the metaphors they try to write, but the grammar sabotages them. You're like my heart. Did you mean heart or did you mean a male deer? Because those are two very different things. Soar like my heart. Oh, so I'm a deer in the woods? I've got antlers now. That's sexy. Nothing gets me in the mood like being compared to roadkill. But my absolute favorite is when people mix up homophones. Oh, it's a gold mine. I can't bear to be without you. Bear? Oh, really? You're naked without me. Thanks for sharing. Or, I want to be a part of your life. Apart means separate. You just said you want to stay away from me. That's not romance, that's a breakup letter. It's incredible how a tiny little word can flip the whole meaning. Near my angle. Angle. Thanks, Pythagoras. I always dreamed of being 90 degrees. And of course, the punctuation of passion, the exclamation point. People don't use one exclamation point. Oh no, they use 12. Oh, I love you. Yeah, well, now it looks like you're on caffeine. Nobody writes, I paid the gas bill. No, exclamation points are reserved for love notes. Like you have to scream your feelings through paper, and sometimes they'll mix them with question marks. I love you. What is that? Do you or don't you? Make up your mind. You can't express eternal devotion with the same punctuation you use for a pop quiz. And then there's the doodles. The grammar disasters aren't complete without little hearts drawn over the eyes. Oh, that's charming. Because nothing says serious emotion like replacing proper dots with cartoon anatomy. Or worse, smiley faces. People will literally write, you make me ho. Really? You're professing love with emoticons now? What's next? Marriage proposals with stick figures. But the thing is, nobody ever corrects these notes. That's the best part. You show a love note to your partner and they don't say, hey, you spelled beautiful wrong. No, they swoon. They melt. They act like the spelling mistake makes it deeper. Oh, he spelled beautiful with two L's. That's adorable. Adorable? No, that's remedial. What's adorable about failing the spelling section of a third-grade exam? Imagine if job applications worked this way. I want to be your new manager. I'm very responsible. Oh, wow, hire him immediately. Clearly, he's passionate. And when people save these notes, the spelling mistakes become even funnier with time. Years later, you'll pull out a crumpled piece of paper that says, "You're my soulmate forever." And you'll think, wow, I really thought this was touching. At the time, it felt like poetry. Now it looks like a ransom demand written by someone who failed English 3 times. You can't even take it seriously. The grammar kills the romance. Imagine trying to read it aloud at a wedding. I knew you were the one when you wrote, "I will never loose you." Loose me? What am I, a pair of pants? Oh. And yet it all keeps happening. Generation after generation, love notes keep recycling the same spelling disasters. It's almost tradition. Like part of the ritual of romance is pretending the dictionary doesn't exist. Maybe that's the real secret of love. You don't have to be perfect, you just have to be bad at spelling in exactly the right way. People forgive it because it feels more human. They want the rawness, the imperfection, the little mistakes that make it personal. Which is fine. But if we're honest, it's still hilarious. Because passion might excuse bad grammar, but it doesn't make it invisible. The mistakes are still right there, glowing on the page like neon signs. So let's be honest about it. If we're going to give out awards for love notes, forget the romance. Hand out trophies for the grammar. A best misspelling of beautiful. A most creative use of exclamation points. Outstanding achievement and apostrophe abuse. Because if love is blind, grammar is completely hammered. And that's why spelling mistakes in love notes don't deserve pity. They deserve comedy awards. You ever notice how love notes never really die? People act like they're these sacred treasures, these once-in-a-lifetime monuments to passion. But in reality, they just get recycled. Same words, same clichés, same promises, sometimes even the exact same note, dusted off, polished up, and given to a brand new sucker. Love notes are like old furniture. People drag them from one relationship to the next, slap a fresh coat of paint on them, and hope nobody notices the springs are shot. It's amazing how many times you'll hear the exact same line show up in different relationships. "You're my soulmate." Really? Didn't you just say that to Jennifer last year? Now it's Lisa, and next year it'll be Michelle. That's not a soulmate. That's a frequent flyer program. You get miles for every time you use the same line. At what point do they send you a free toaster? And the worst part is how unoriginal they are. Nobody writes fresh material. Nobody. They just recycle. It's like they've got a secret file cabinet in their brain labeled aromantic crap, and they just pull from it whenever they need to impress somebody. You are the love of my life. You've got a whole stack of the loves of your life. What are you, a cat? 9 lives, 9 loves. And every single one gets the same opening line. You could practically print these things in bulk, leave a blank for the name, and boom. You've got a Hallmark franchise. I once saw a guy who kept a notebook of old love notes. Not as keepsakes, but as templates. He literally recycled them word for word. The only thing that changed was the name at the top. A Dear Amanda. Cross it out, write a Dear Rebecca. It's not romance, man. You are my noun. Without you, I feel adjective. I will love you forever until time period. Fill in the blanks, collect your prize. Love notes don't come from the heart, they come from the copier. And people fall for it. That's the best part. People read the same recycled note and act like it's the most original thought ever. And nobody's ever said that to me before. Oh, sweetheart, they've said it to everyone. You just don't know it. There are probably 5 other people out there with the same note folded up in their wallet. If you compared them side by side, it'd look like someone plagiarized themselves. Without you, I am nothing. Without you, I am nothing. Without you, I am nothing. Copy, paste, print, deliver. It's like romance is stuck in an endless rerun. The recycling goes deeper too. It's not just the words. It's the promises. Oh, the promises get recycled like aluminum cans. I'll love you forever. Forever. Really? You mean until next summer when you meet someone new at the beach? Then suddenly forever expires. They act like forever is a returnable bottle. Bring it back when you're done. Get your deposit. I'll never leave you. Until you do. Then that line gets recycled too. You just use it on somebody else. It's like a coupon that never expires. One free eternity of devotion, redeemable at any location. And the drawings. The doodles get recycled too. Every love note has the same hearts, the same arrows, the same corny little stick figures holding hands. People have been doodling the same junk for centuries. You look at a note from 1920, it's the same as one from 1990. A heart with initials in it. J plus S equals forever. Forever! Until you scratch out the S, write in a new initial, and suddenly it's J plus T equals forever. Love's got better erasers than pencils. You ever look at an old tree carving? Somebody carved their initials into a tree trunk. A Tom plus Linda. You come back years later and it's a Tom plus Karen. Tom just keeps changing the names. The tree is more faithful than Tom, and sometimes the recycling is accidental. People don't even realize they're doing it. They write one note to one person, years later they fall in love again, and suddenly they're writing the exact same thing word for word. You make me whole. Didn't you already say that? Yeah, but it still works. It's like telling the same joke to a new audience. You're not wrong, but it's not fresh either. You're recycling your own material. You're a stand-up comic of love notes. The funniest is when people recycle the wrong note. Oh, I've seen this happen. A guy once gave his new girlfriend an old note without realizing it still had the old girlfriend's name faintly erased at the top. Dear Stephanie. My name's Rachel. Whoops. Talk about romance gone bad. That's like buying flowers and leaving the price tag on. Nothing says it from the heart like evidence you shopped the bargain bin. But here's the thing. The people writing these notes really believe they're being genuine every single time. That's what makes it hilarious. They're pouring the same recycled juice into a new cup and acting like it's vintage wine. They don't even notice the pattern. You ask them about it later, and they'll swear every word was fresh, original, unique. Meanwhile, you could put together a whole anthology of their unique words and realize it's just the same 10 lines shuffled like a deck of cards. Without you, I can't breathe. You complete me. You are my everything. Shuffle, deal, repeat, and then the recycling gets sentimental. People save these things for decades, like little trophies of heartbreak. You open a shoebox in the closet and find a stack of love notes from 3 relationships ago. You read them, and they're all identical. Different names, same promises. You're the only one for me, except you weren't. You were the only one at the time until the next only one has showed up. That's not uniqueness, that's recycling. You weren't the one, you were the one for now. And the note just proves it. What makes it worse is when people actually reuse the same note on purpose. That's when it goes from lazy to genius level con. Because you gotta admit there's something efficient about it. Why spend all that time sweating over paper and ink when you've already got a proven winner sitting in the drawer? It worked on Jessica. Why wouldn't it work on Emily? Just switch the name. Boom, romance served hot. It's like microwaving leftovers. Sure, it's not fresh, but it fills the belly. But let's face it, most love notes are leftovers. They're the reheated soup of romance. The handwriting is smudged, the words are stale, and the ideas are recycled from someone else's recycled ideas. Nobody's out here writing new lines. You've never seen a love note that says, "A baby, you remind me of tax season. Stressful, confusing, but I know I gotta deal with it." Now that would be original, but no, it's always, "You're my sun, my moon, my stars." Same song, new singer. And yet, people still treasure them. People still clutch these recycled scraps like they're priceless. They'll look at them with tears in their eyes, not realizing the same lines are probably floating around in somebody else's drawer addressed to somebody else. That's the secret comedy of it all. Love notes feel personal, but they're really mass-produced. They're not rare jewels, they're factory products, straight off the assembly line of human desperation. And that's why love notes don't deserve to be locked away like holy relics. They deserve a recycling bin, or better yet, a comedy award. Because nothing is funnier than watching people hand out the same script year after year, decade after decade, acting like it's brand new. Because the truth is, if romance is real, you don't need to recycle the words. But if you do recycle them, then congratulations. You've just won yourself a comedy trophy. You ever notice how love notes don't age gracefully? They start out like fine wine, but a few years later they're more like milk left on the counter. At the time, they feel like the most beautiful, heartfelt words ever put on paper. You're trembling as you write them. Your heart is racing. You're convinced this is the most profound expression of love in the history of humanity. You fold it up carefully. You hand it over. Maybe even spritz a little cheap perfume on it if you're feeling fancy. And for a while, it works. It's magical. The person reads it and melts like butter on toast. But fast forward a few years. Pull that same note out of a shoebox and suddenly it's not poetry anymore. It's leftovers in the back of the fridge. It used to smell sweet, now it smells like regret. The first time you read it, it's got sparkle. And my darling, my angel, my everything. 10 years later, it's just, oh wow. I really called someone my everything, and a single human being? That person couldn't even split the rent on time. That's the comedy of it. Love notes age the way bananas do, real fast and real ugly. At first they're bright yellow, full of life, everybody wants one. Leave them sitting around for a while and they're brown, mushy, and the fruit flies are circling. And people always save them. That's the tragedy. Nobody throws them out right away. They tuck them into drawers, shoeboxes, photo albums. They want to preserve the moment, freeze it like a butterfly pinned under glass. Except butterflies don't rot. Love notes do. 10, 20 years later, you stumble across that paper, you unfold it, and there it is. Your heart poured out in messy handwriting. Except now, instead of swooning, you're cringing. You're thinking, oh my God, I actually wrote this? I thought this was romantic. What the hell was wrong with me? It's like finding an old diary. You can't believe you were ever that dramatic. And the phrasing, it's unbelievable how ridiculous it sounds with time. I'll love you forever. Forever? At the time it sounds noble, heroic, eternal. Years later it just sounds naive. I'll love you forever. Yeah, until you met Jessica at the bowling alley. Forever lasted 6 months, and then it got downgraded to, I hope we can still be friends. Forever has an expiration date. Love notes prove it, and they're always so over the top. You can tell a love note is aging badly by how exaggerated it sounds years later. Without you, I am nothing. Really? Nothing? You're a grown adult with a job and a car, but without Cindy, you're nothing. Come on, you were paying your bills, brushing your teeth, going to work. You weren't a nothing. You just had a crush, but at the time you wrote it down like you were dying in a medieval play. Without your touch, my soul crumbles. And now, reading it back, you realize you sound like a melodramatic kid in a high school theater class. And the metaphors, they don't age well at all. People compare love to all kinds of stuff in notes, and it's always cheesy. You're the light of my life. 10 years later, you're like, oh no, you were the dimmer switch. Half the time you flickered and gave me headaches. Oh, you're my rock. Yeah, a rock on my back. A rock that crushed me with credit card debt. People always think they're writing timeless metaphors, but in reality, they're writing time bombs. The older the note gets, the dumber the metaphor looks. And the handwriting doesn't help either. You ever notice how old handwriting looks even worse with time? Ink fades, paper yellows, creases form. What used to look romantic now looks like it was written by a prisoner scratching lines on a wall. And when you finally read it again, half the words are smudged. I will always love, shoo. What the hell did I write? That doesn't say shoo, that says you. But it's been folded in a wallet so long, the ink turned into modern art, love note, or Rorschach test. Hard to tell. And of course, when you find these notes years later, you're never with the same person anymore. That's the kicker. You're married to someone else, you've moved on, you've had kids, and suddenly you find a love note from high school in the attic. You're the only one I'll ever love, the only one. Meanwhile, you're on your third relationship. You read it and laughed so hard you can't breathe. The only one. Yeah, well, apparently I had multiple only ones, which kinda defeats the meaning of only. If you've got more than one only, it's not only anymore. It's just one of the ones. It's even funnier when the person who wrote it is still around, but not in your life. You bump into them at the grocery store years later. They've got a beer belly, they're buying frozen pizza, and suddenly you remember they once wrote you. You are the goddess of my universe, my eternal flame. Eternal flame? This guy can't even light a barbecue without lighter fluid, and yet there it is, written in pen like it was gospel. That's how badly love notes age. They're like yearbook signatures. At the time, you think they're deep. Years later, you realize it's just nonsense scribbled by someone who barely knew what they were doing. And you know what makes them age even worse, kids? You save these notes, you think they're special, then your kids find them. Oh, that's humiliation. Your kid digs through a box, finds an old note you wrote in college, and starts reading it out loud in a mocking voice. "A dear baby Muffin, I can't wait to hold you in my arms and kiss your sweet face." Muffin, you actually called someone Muffin. Your kid will never let you live it down. That's why people burn these things before they die. They don't want their family going through their old junk and discovering they once rhymed a love with a dove. And what about the ones you get rid of, but not carefully enough? You throw them in the trash, thinking that's it. But years later, you stumble on a stray one tucked in a book you forgot about. You open the book and bam, there it is. My darling, my angel. And now it's hilarious. It's not touching anymore. It's like finding a coupon that expired in 1987. It's useless but funny in a sad way. Love notes age even faster than photos. At least old photos have nostalgia. You look at a picture of yourself in the 80s and you laugh at the haircut, but you remember the time fondly. Old love notes? You just cringe. There's no nostalgia, only embarrassment. I can't live without you. Yes, you can. In fact, you did. You lived without them just fine. You ate sandwiches, went to work, watched TV, and carried on. You were doing great. The only thing you couldn't live without was oxygen, but you thought it was Brenda. And the real kicker is that people actually believed these things were eternal. That's the irony. They thought they were writing down words that would stand the test of time. Instead, they barely survived the test of Tuesday. Time doesn't make them more meaningful, it makes them sillier. Because the older they get, the more obvious it becomes that love notes aren't written for eternity. They're written for the moment. They're fast food dressed up as fine dining. They taste great at the time, but you regret them later. So yeah, love notes don't age like wine. They age like leftovers. You can keep them in the fridge for a little while, maybe reheat them once or twice, but eventually they smell funny, the edges are slimy, and you're embarrassed you ever kept them around. And that's why love notes don't deserve to be treated like eternal treasures. They deserve comedy awards.